Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Tom Siri from On the Hot Podcast. Today is going to be episode 57 for you guys. It's going to be a solo episode, just your host this week only. This will be coming out, of course, on all four of our platforms: our Apple Podcast account, our Instagram account, our Facebook account, and our YouTube account. So we're going to kick things off today with talking about the player that's been talked about the most this NBA offseason. Is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has been talked about the most since last week when free agency was getting ready to begin. Hours before free agency started, he has requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets. So I will be talking about what team I believe that Kevin Durant will be traded to this offseason, or if things get worse in the regular season. So, 60% of you guys today on our Instagram poll, I put out the poll of which conference do you guys see Kevin Durant playing in next season. 60% of you said that Kevin Durant will be playing in it for a Western Conference team in the Western Conference next season. And I'm on board with that because the team I believe Kevin Durant will play for next season, drum roll please. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it seems right, but it doesn't seem right. The only team I really believe Kevin Durant could be traded for at this moment of time is back to the Golden State Warriors and play for the Golden State Warriors once again. At this point, it makes the most sense for him to go back to the Golden State Warriors. Kevin Durant had his chance to become a leader, lead his own franchise. Obviously, everyone knows the historic moments that he had in OKC with the Thunder. I had Russell Westbrook, James Harden, went to the finals. Everybody knows you go down memory lane and relive his moments in OKC. Failed as a leader in OKC. Failed as a leader with the Brooklyn Nets. Just 3 years in, well, realistically 2 because he was hurt his first year on the deal. 2 years in, and Kevin Durant already wants out. It's just common facts. He can't lead his team. He has to play with an established franchise. There's not a lot of established franchise can give out what they really want to get Kevin Durant and meet the needs and the requirements that the Brooklyn Nets want in return. The Warriors are currently the only team that can be a happy franchise and letting go one of the best scorers, one of the best players of all time in Kevin Durant, all jokes aside. So I think, and we have seen this throughout any sport, and basketball is the main sport because this is the most sport where players team up with other superstar players or players opt out of or request trades out of their contracts more than the NFL, more than MLB, more than anything that you can think of. Even you could throw college football and college basketball in the transfer portals. The NBA is worse when you see top players go to different teams compared to college players going to different programs. That's just what makes the NBA even more special, and it definitely draws a lot of ratings. But what we have seen over the last few years, and the biggest one that we have seen in the last couple of years, was when James Harden requested a trade from the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets held on to James Harden, held him hostage until they got what they wanted in return. Another example, if James Harden, one of the best scorers of all time, was held hostage and was given away to the Nets with a lot of assets in that, but the main thing that sticks out as 5 future first-round picks was the Rockets are using every year, have used for the last 2 seasons, or 2 NBA drafts, I should say. So, Kevin Durant, this situation could get really ugly. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Durant is actually on the Brooklyn Nets roster come opening night. I don't think he will play, but I won't be surprised if him or Kyrie Irving will be on the roster come opening night. They will not let go of this player until they get what they want and what they feel like. And I don't blame them because, all jokes aside, Kevin Durant did pull one of the biggest snake moves in NBA history, but he is one of the best scorers of all time, one of the best players that we have seen, especially at the small forward position. I think he's the second best small forward of all time behind LeBron James. He is a special player, and he is still in the prime of his career. So you want everything you can get for Kevin Durant in the situation in your Brooklyn Nets. So let's talk about the teams who are in the race, but I just don't see Kevin Durant going to these teams, and I'll explain why. So the front runner, I think, in my opinion right now, is the Phoenix Suns. I don't see, and what the Brooklyn Nets want is they want a NBA All-Star player and draft capital and assets in this trade to require Kevin Durant. And they're asking for big-time All-Star players. So let's start with the Phoenix Suns. Right now, there's no way that Chris Paul is going to go to the Brooklyn Nets. He's nearly 40 years old. He is still an NBA All-Star player, but it's just unrealistic for Chris Paul to go to the Brooklyn Nets when you talk about Kevin Durant trade. So then that leaves you with your next superstar and your biggest superstar, your best player on the team, in Devin Booker, who they will not be trading. And late last week, he signed a new 4-year, $224 million extension, and most likely will not have the access to make a sign and trade deal with DeAndre Ayton involved in that package deal. So, and DeAndre Ayton will most likely not be with the Phoenix Suns next season. So, anonymous GM in the league, we don't know who this GM is because it is a unanimous report. And the league has reported that DeAndre Ayton, Malik Bridges, Cam Johnson, and 5 future draft picks would not be enough for the Suns to acquire Kevin Durant. If you're not giving up Chris Paul, if you're not giving up Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton's out the picture, if that's not going to land you Kevin Durant, that automatically eliminates you from the conversation of giving Kevin Durant. So I don't see the Phoenix Suns acquiring Kevin Durant if this report is true. Meanwhile, the next runner-up in the race is my Miami Heat. Would I love to see Kevin Durant with the Heat? Absolutely. But it depends on the cost. I wouldn't trade Jimmy Butler for the world if it depended on. Obviously, Kevin Durant is a better player. But Jimmy Butler gives me more heart. He gives me more defense. He gives everything. And to he's the heart and soul of the Miami Heat. There's no way other to put it. I would not trade Jimmy Butler. I'm saying into this microphone. I would not trade Jimmy Butler for any NBA player right now. Right now. So I wouldn't do that. And Bam Adebayo, I'm not touching Bam Adebayo. I understand the duo of Kevin Durant and Jimmy Butler would be completely special. But we're talking about in the Eastern Conference, where the conference is loaded with big man of Giannis, Joel Embiid. You have the star duo of big man talent in Boston with Roy Williams and Al Horford. There's no way I'm touching that. I'm not doing that. I'm not giving up Bam Adebayo for Kevin Durant and a Kevin Durant package deal. So the only way I could see the Miami Heat giving up, trading for Kevin Durant, is if we were to give up Bam Adebayo, who is an all-star player, young potential, and can be a future defensive player in this league one day. So Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, and Duncan Robinson and maybe some future draft picks is the only way I could see the Miami Heat acquiring Kevin Durant. The Toronto Raptors are in the race, but sorry to break it to any Raptors fans watching and listening, there's just no way in hell that Kevin Durant would be okay with going to Toronto. Yes, there was a scenario a few years ago back in 2018 where Kawhi Leonard was traded from the San Antonio Spurs to the Toronto Raptors, and he helped the Raptors win their first championship. But he actually decided to leave after winning a championship. How many star players really do that nowadays? Absolutely none. So I just don't see Kevin Durant being happy at this point in his career playing for the Toronto Raptors. The only they have a lot of young players who would help him on a nightly basis, but would they help him go on a championship run? You have Fred VanVleet, who is there, an all-star player, a really great shooting guard for the Raptors. You have Scotty Barnes, a rookie sensation from last season, who's only going to get better and better. And you have Siakam, who is going to be one of the best big men in the NBA, I believe, one day. Once upon a time, did they all help Kawhi Leonard win a championship? Yes, but there was a Kyle Lowry in his prime that also helped and contributed to the Toronto Raptors. So I just don't see Kevin Durant going to the Toronto Raptors at this point of his career. And if they do, I feel like Kevin Durant would threaten the worst if he did get traded to the Toronto Raptors. So I don't see the Raptors being a factor. Warriors have the best package to make this work. The Brooklyn Nets are looking for, like I just said a few moments ago, they're looking for young players that they can build around and not go into a quick rebuild mode. They're looking for an all-star player that is not going to guarantee or is not going to fully replace Kevin Durant, but give them a satisfaction that they will be okay at least for the next few seasons and still be competing with the other Eastern Conference teams. So it just makes the most sense for the Warriors to just go after Kevin Durant because they have everything that the Brooklyn Nets are looking for if you want Kevin Durant on your roster. So I have the Warriors trading Andrew Wiggins, who is an all-star player, proved it this year, first time NBA all-star. Showed up in the NBA Finals when it mattered most, did the dirty work defensively, did a great job on Jason Tatum defensively. Scored your points, needed points, rebounded well, played great defense. Andrew Wiggins, the sky's the limit for this kid. Former first-round pick. Jordan Poole stepped up his game last year, former G League player. Definitely going to be a bright spot for the Golden State Warriors, but it could be the bright spot for the Brooklyn Nets if the Warriors are interested in getting Kevin Durant. Jonathan Kingma. That's it. Wait, Jonathan. Or I apologize for that. But yes, Jonathan K. We're just gonna call him Jonathan K. Is also a young player, former first-round pick last year in the 2021 draft. Definitely a player that was not healthy come playoff time and did not get a chance to play in the NBA Finals. But this is a young cat who could develop his game, and the Brooklyn Nets could be interested in helping him develop his game and bring the best out of him one day. And James Wiseman, another player who was not healthy throughout the stretch for the Golden State Warriors, and missed a lot of time this season. The second overall pick back in the 2020 draft. His game has a lot of potential to grow. And the Warriors just won a championship without him. Imagine if they did have him this playoff stretch. Imagine how dangerous this team would have even been with James Wiseman in the lineup for the finals and down the course of the playoff stretch. I think these four players would be enough to land Kevin Durant back with the Golden State Warriors and keep this dynasty going. I know Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond, who has a big mouth, who likes to run his mouth on his own podcast. I respect that because I do the same thing. But, and Steve Kerr, if all four of these guys are on the same page of getting Kevin Durant back, it's going to happen. They would take him back in heartbeat. Kevin Durant can say what he wants. He would go back to the Golden State Warriors, and this dynasty would continue. The dynasty will not die down. And if all four of these players can get back together, if they were to get back together, I really wouldn't be watching basketball because it's a guarantee they'd be in the finals for the next 3 to 4 years, and they would at least win 2 championships again with each other. So it'd be a bad day in NBA history if the Warriors do this, but right now it looks like they're not in the driver's seat. They're not the favorites, but in reality, they are the favorites to land Kevin Durant. And I'm calling it now. I think Kevin Durant is going to be traded to the Golden State Warriors next season. It's a long shot, but it's a bold prediction. And right now, they just have all the assets, all the key ingredients to land Kevin Durant this offseason or in the near future.